Juan-o's world.
My baby mama trippin', she been going through my phone. Tired of me cheating, I can't leave these hoes alone. Hella pics, hella tips on my cash app.
Definitely.
Check this out.
I feel like the worst thing you can do as a woman is let a toxic, inconsistent, spiteful man sign your baby's birth certificate. He can technically control your life through your child if you let him sign that birth certificate. I don't have those problems. I had my daughter at 20, and during my pregnancy, I seen things for what they really were. So I'm like, oh yeah, my daughter definitely getting my last name. Even if things didn't go sour, my daughter still was getting my last name because this is my first daughter, and I always said I was going to name my child after me. But that's besides the point. Once you let him sign that birth certificate, he can stop you from doing things that you want to do. You have to go through him to do certain things. I'm not a child. I don't want to have to go through anybody else to make a decision for me and my baby. If that man say he don't want his kid going out the country, technically he has that right. If someone is babysitting your kid and he wants to get his kid, he can do that because he has the same amount of rights as you. And not to mention, you can't just cut him off and go about your life because he has the same rights as you just because he's on the birth certificate. I thank God every day that I made the decision that I made so I don't have to be forced to be tied to somebody. I feel like the worst thing you can do as a woman is let a toxic...
Okay, I know y'all wondering, like, what the hell's going on Juan-o's world? So let me share with you. Me and this young lady had words on Instagram. I ain't get disrespectful with her. I ain't put her in her place like I could have, but we had an exchange that kind of bothered me. But what I've come to the realization is a lot of people think like this. And notice how she kept saying I. What I noticed as a father when I first found out my first child was in the womb, right? I had to come to grips with the fact that something I love more than anything, something I care more about than anything, I have no control over. And this is in the best situation possible. You know, Junior being born, it was a horrific situation. You know, he had a bowel movement inside his mom's. It was emergency, blue. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? There was a whole lot that went on. It took about 6 or 7 days for him to actually be born. I was hustling out the hospital. It was an experience. With that being said, when it came down to his mother's life was on the line and his, I had no control. But at the same time, I was responsible. And I don't mean responsible like I covered everything or was doing everything, but I mean responsible like this is my situation. And a woman never really has to think about that. The baby is inside of her. She, in all respects, has absolute control. And what I notice is that creates a disillusion in between mother and father. Father is always planning and working for the kid to be in the best possible situation without him being there, because he had to deal with that since he found out the baby is coming. Typically, and especially when you're dealing with immature mothers, they never get past the fact of the baby is them and they are the baby. And that's not true. You know, I got a 14-year-old now, and he has his whole own life, no matter how me or his mother feels about that. It affects us in different ways because I've been planning for this day, saving money for this day. And she been loving on him all these years. You know what I'm saying? And it's different. But that's neither beside the point. We about to bust this video down because I want to get a young lady her credit, but I can't fuck with her mentality on this one. Now let's go.
I feel like the worst thing you can do as a woman is let a toxic, inconsistent, spiteful man sign your baby's birth certificate.
No, the worst thing you can do as a woman is get pregnant by, what she say, spiteful, inconsistent, toxic man get you pregnant. That's if you feel that way about a person, you shouldn't be messing with them. That's the worst thing you can do as a woman. As a woman, fucking with somebody you don't know is the worst thing you can do as a woman. You know, I teach my daughter not to hug strangers. So I hope she wouldn't be letting strangers inside of her. You feel me? That's just common daddy knowledge. But let's go.
He can technically control your life through your child if you let him sign that birth certificate.
It has dawned on me a lot of women think like this. I haven't met a father yet that was trying to control the life of the woman he made a kid with. Nah, I have met some men that wanted to do that. And most of the males, well, I'm not even going to call them men. Most of the men that I met trying to do that wasn't responsible enough to be fathers, no way. So the mother going to end up with absolute control in that situation anyway. We need to identify who we talking about here. Let's rock.
I don't have those problems. I had my daughter at 20 and
Whoa. You had your daughter at 20. Now, tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that's an accomplishment. That don't even sound like you finished college. That don't even sound like you started a career. That don't even sound like you're a homeowner. But let's rock.
during my pregnancy, I seen things for what they really were. So I'm like, oh yeah, my daughter definitely getting my last name. Even if things didn't go sour, my daughter still was getting my last name because this is my first daughter, and I always said I was going to name my child after me. But that's besides the point.
No, that is the point. And this is something that I have noticed as a father. I'm not going to just put this on women, but some people have ulterior motives. She obviously wanted a daughter, and she didn't care who the father was, and she already had it in her mind that her daughter was going to be named after her. And the problem with these ulterior motives is once you have them, your brain will create whatever needed to go along to support what it is that you're trying to do. This could be used in a positive way as well, but that's just how the human brain and body works. So if you know this, then you're looking for excuses to justify not having him on the birth certificate. And then you pick the dude that would allow that. And I just want to take this time to shoot out to all the dudes. Listen here. You have a baby with a woman like this, she's going to end up on social services, right? Social services is eventually going to press her about who the father is. And then you're going to owe for the birth and all of these things, penalties, back lates. And this is why so many black men going to jail for child support, because it's not just necessarily a race thing, it's a culture thing. Because that toxic mentality that she has right there, she sees something can be toxic alone. A battery gives you juice, but you leave it in the remote control too long, then it's toxic. She's toxic on her own. But let's get back to the point. This is why so many black men end up in prison over child support. Because while you dealing with a spiteful woman like this and the way she do things, your child may be 6 or 7 years old before the state get on your ass. And by that time, you got all them years worth of social services. And judging by her appearance and from our discourse, she doesn't seem to be the type of woman that has health coverage from employment or from her own entrepreneurship. So she look like she's on the state fund already. You know, forehead lashes on fleek. I know they don't say that no more. And piercings everywhere, talking with the hands. She's a very combative young lady as well, you know, from our own discussion and discourse. But let's kick it back.
Once you let him sign that birth certificate, he can stop you from doing things that you want to do. You have to go through him to do certain things. I'm not a child. I don't want to have to go through anybody else to make a decision for me and my baby. Definitely.
It's not your baby, though. It's your baby. It's not your baby. It's your baby. You don't make it alone. And that's where a lot of these kids end up in horrible situations because they being raised by somebody with this mentality.
Country, technically he has that right. If someone is babysitting your kid and he wants to get his kid, he can do that because he has the same amount of rights as you. And
That's stupidity. Why would you rather a child be with a babysitter than its father? You hear how ignorant that sounds? And right now she's on the internet arguing with everybody, making more and more excuses. Now she's saying the father said he would do something sexually to the child and this, that, or whatever. And she's talking about all the problems that she's having with a father whose name is not on the birth certificate. So don't be stupid enough to think that a man not signing that birth certificate stops him from being a father and or parent. Because it doesn't. It doesn't. And even though the state gives y'all all of these rights to ruin yourself, they give you all the money, they give you all the rope you need to hang yourself, they still want him to pay for that rope. They still want him to be responsible for that rope. You got to understand that.
not to mention, you can't just cut him off and go about your life because he has the same rights as you just because he's on the birth certificate. I thank God
No, he has the same rights as you because he's a parent. God damn, this goes back to the Bible. Fuck the law. This goes back to the Bible. And why wouldn't you want him to have the same rights? Why would you be, because I'm a man, so ain't nothing entering me. Ain't nothing entering me that I don't need. I done took a shot. You know what I'm saying? I might have a smoke. Ain't nothing entering me that I don't need or that I don't fuck with. So I'm lost in a sauce that so many women are allowing men to enter them that they don't fuck with. I didn't even think that was possible. When a girl chose another nigga over me, I assumed she actually fucked with him. But to hear all of these women having kids with dudes that they don't fuck with, but you knew him for X amount of years. Crazy.
every day that I made the decision that I made so I don't have to be forced to be tied to somebody. I feel like the worst thing you can do.
Anyway, in short, this young lady is giving bad advice. She's still having problems with the father of her child, even though he didn't sign that birth certificate. Please stop listening to people on social services trying to tell you what you need to do to manipulate a situation. That's how you end up in poverty. Always trying to finesse, always trying to manipulate. You know what I'm saying? And that shit gotta stop. It's a loser mentality. And truth